I don't. Okay, thank you very much, Andrew. I do not have the ability to share my screen at this point, though.
Only because I was sharing, but now you do.
Yeah, okay. All right. Let me just share the PowerPoint one more time. So I do go through the upcoming events. I like to do is usually first thing. As we start these presentations, we'll be changing these around as we move forward. So today is September 15th. It is the International Day of Democracy. The International Day of Democracy provides an opportunity to review the state of democracy in the world. So I will put some information for people to follow up in the chat for those who are with us. And so there is a UNESCO link and a UN link along with a Wikipedia article as well. Coming up later this week, we have World Patient Safety Day on Saturday, September 17th. Of course, this is a health-related observance. And so there are campaigns from the World Health Organization for this day. They envisage to provide the needed impetus to consolidate the efforts of the existing WHO Global Patient Safety Challenge that they call Medication Without Harm, emphasizing the need to adopt a systems approach and promote safe medication practices to prevent medication errors and reduce medication-related harm. So that is coming up this Saturday. And then the following day on Sunday is the International Equal Pay Day. And International Equal Pay Day, Sunday, September 18th, is celebrated and represents the longstanding efforts toward the achievement of equal pay for work of equal value. It further builds on UN's commitment to human rights and against all forms of discrimination, including discrimination against women and girls. So again, I am putting a link for the UN organization along with Wikipedia pages, and then an announcement, I believe, a couple of years ago by the Canadian government as well, that has made it official that they are proud to be an active member of the Equal Pay International Coalition, called EPIC, the acronym, and to have supported the adoption of the resolution proclaiming September 18th as International Equal Pay Day. So this is quite recent. Also next week, of course, is the International Day of Peace on Wednesday, September 21st. So this is an important day for all of us as well to mark in our calendars. So that is Wednesday. Then that is also in the middle, or sorry, the end of the 11 Days of Global Unity by We the World. And I will put in the link for that. The International Day of Peace, also officially known as World Peace Day, is a United Nations sanctioned holiday observed annually on 21st of September. It's dedicated to world peace, specifically to the absence of war and violence, such as might be occasioned by a temporary ceasefire in a combat zone for humanitarian aid. September is also National Disaster Preparedness Month in the USA, where they are working with through organizations like FEMA, and they have their own programs, readiness.gov. Again, in the chat, National Preparedness Month is recognized each September to promote family and community disaster planning now and throughout the year. And this is observed each September, raising awareness about steps individuals, families, and communities can take to be ready for disasters and emergencies that could happen at any time. This year's National Preparedness Month has a theme called Prepare to Protect, and highlights how preparing for disaster helps protect everyone you love. So we are still in the middle of the 11 Days of Global Unity Summit, produced by We the World. So they have the Movements of All Movements, the 11 Days of Global Unity Summit event highlights the We 11 campaign for change, which calls forth value, spirit, and service needed to move us toward a culture of peace and a world that works for all. The 11 days of global unity started on September 11th, founded after 9/11, the day the Twin Towers came down in New York City. It culminates in the International Day of Peace on September 21st. People can join in, listen to the array of visionary leaders, and attend live streamed events on each of the 11 days of change. When they participate in the 11 days of global unity, they embark on a positive journey of heart that will reignite their faith in human capacity to recover from tragedy. So we are celebrating our resilience. We can hear from these leaders from 11 days of global unity. They are inspiring us to move forward, personally fulfilling ways that are meaningful to each other as well. Again, I put some information into the chat for those who are on this call. Related to that is also Peace Week 2022, which takes place from September 17th to 24th. So Up Convergence is doing this Peace Week. You can register participation at peaceweek.org. And so there's also related to that Mighty Networks, a place to get connected and engaged in Peace Week 2022 and beyond as well. So we also have, related to our own network, We Energize Global Cooperation Turtle Island, which is supporting the original Beaver project brought on Markham, which started in 2018. This is a collaboration between three organizations: We the World, Energize University, and Global Cooperation Day. So we are an organization that's focused on life value, peace education. Our overarching goal is, our message is simple: collaboration for the transformation of the human mindset, where we're focused in our mind on peace rather than conflict. So we do education toward awakening dreamers. Our goal is affecting change in our modern culture toward a culture that respects life, recognizes life value as being more important than money value. So I also suggested last week as well in recording UnityNet collective virtual messages of peace from our global members during this week's or the upcoming We the World 9/21 events, September 21st, World Peace Day. They're having these events in Times Square. I, again, will be putting information into the chat about that event, which is coming up, which can be seen at or websites such as pausetheworldpeace.org, as well as some information about these upcoming events that we are having in Times Square for the human peace sign, which is actually going to be created in Times Square. Also a moment of silent meditation virtually led by Ringo Starr, a very famous singer. My suggestion was to set aside time during these calls, spend some time recording our collective virtual message from our own peace messengers, from as many of the members of UnityNet globally as we can get. Who'd like to do this again, we can do that as well after this opening session, saying what are the upcoming events. The message that I have been suggesting is in the chat, where we are saying, for instance, we are here to empower the local female and feminist humanitarian entrepreneur members in our local communities to globalize the global goals, starting with the Sustainable Development Goals, for the purpose of achieving a globalized, productive, compassionate, collaborative, regenerative economy that leaves no one behind. So I did add an additional slide today. What I want to mention is that we want to broadcast certain video segments again during our upcoming Drawdown Markham event, which is taking place the following Wednesday, September 21st. So Drawdown Markham International Peace Day special presentation with this month's live Zoom call and presentation being done by Joan Kerr from the Foundation for Building Sustainable Communities, which is headquartered in Oshawa, Ontario, just east of Markham. Joan will be making some special announcements about some new programs that FBSC will be launching in early 2023, aligning with the existing programs that she's doing, including the Climate Smart Victory Gardens or CSV Gardens program and the Victory Forest programs as well. So again, I will put this information in the chat for everybody to be able to access those easily for those who are on the call. Otherwise, you do see those links on the page that I'm showing right here. I want to note as well, if anybody would like to become an official partner of this or any future Drawdown Markham event, don't hesitate to contact me, let me know. I will put my contact information into the chat. I also have can have your logo put into our Eventbrite page, mention your organization during the call, provide a link to your website in the description for the event, especially as well. So Drawdown Markham, I wanted to mention, is a project of the Community Sustainability Working Group of Science for Peace. Again, in the chat, as you see on the screen, you can find information about us at especially the Eventbrite page, which is the bottom link on this page that you're seeing. We are working in partnership with the Energy Public Cooperation Turtle Island that I mentioned earlier, and their Go Local campaign for community resilience and adaptation. So we are supporting the UN Decade for Ecosystem Restoration 2021 to 2023, which is the deep work of the 21st century to make modernity more sustainable. We are seeking ways, of course, of supporting our local community as well. In particular, we're looking at trying to support Food Forests at Markham, which is a local community organization. So I also mentioned last week, Tree Canada has decided that that same day, Wednesday, September 21st, is National Forest Week. That is actually on the website of Tree Canada, National Tree Day, but unfortunately, there is no acknowledgement of the fact that this day, September 21st, is also International Peace Day. And so it's not actually shown on the website of Tree Canada. I may wish to get in contact with them to see if they might want to update their own website. I do also want to remind people that as our greater Unity Network and the UnityNet Practical Reconciliation leader told me a few weeks ago, we need to take this time in history as an opportunity to reflect on the role of the military-industrial complex and how it's playing in this propaganda war regarding weaponization of Gaia, and consider the impacts on Mother Earth. Corin also noted to me that James Lovelock, the originator of the Gaia theory, just recently died on his 103rd birthday, and said, well, that it is very likely too late to reverse the course of climate change or to achieve drawdown as we are promoting. Even if we were to achieve what they call net zero, it doesn't mean that humanity can survive under the current paradigm of infrastructure development. So we do need to have a radical rethink about the infrastructure we're building in all our local communities, because the vast majority of what we're building right now all over the world is largely unsuitable to the new climate regime that we're now entering. So the effects we'll see today will be much worse than anything we've seen so far, including all of the fires and droughts and heat waves, the melting glaciers and ice caps, and all the things we're already accelerating are getting worse by the month. So Corin said that Lovelock spent his life advocating for climate measures starting decades before many others started to take notice of the crisis. But by the time he died, he didn't believe that there was hope of avoiding some of the worst impacts of climate change. So the underlying challenge for us as we face this unprecedented situation, these human conditions, the conditions we face are so fundamentally different that these ideas of depopulation are being actively promoted right now. But we need to read through these propaganda messages, decipher them. They are sometimes overt, they are sometimes not, but we need to use language within UnityNet because our role is to dispel these false positives, the alarmism, because we know there are solutions. In the short term, it's not things like food forests or biochar, those other things that we have been promoting, but there are long-term solutions that can be implemented. Those are some of those things, but we do need, in order to consider our survival as a species, to consider the ways to adapt to this new climate paradigm, because it's happening now. It will continue to get worse, perhaps even far worse in the next few years and decades. So we are acting as examples of the change we want to create. We're trying to create this paradigm shift through dialogue. We're fighting with peace and not for it. It's the major message of our campaigns, which means using higher consciousness to achieving our objectives. We are not fighting a war with each other to save the planet. We're making peace with the planet to save ourselves. So the real leadership in our midst is this message that we must convey. This needs to be sharpened to present this strategy that Corin and Jenny now call the heart of the campaign, the Gaia's Guitar strategy, which they have been working on together to bring to the members of UnityNet as concisely as possible and as soon as possible. We are hoping to hear from them soon about this engagement strategy. Corin did note that the sooner we have this strategy articulated, the better. Because in dealing with each other, we need to create a shared consciousness with peacemaking that is more contagious than fear and war. So this is the message that's likely centered around the trees of peace and reconciliation and the Indigenous unity flags, which are needed to be central to our message of peace, reconciliation, forgiveness, and the restoration of our relationship with Mother Earth, which is the only way that we'll be able to ensure that all of humanity and all our relations will be able to survive in this new climate of the future. Corin did note as well the practical reconciliation that we're doing is like oxygen. We tend to take this word unity for granted. It's only when we don't have oxygen in our lungs that we appreciate that something is missing. The push toward war is now the only way that some democracies seem to be able to come together in unity, but our canary in the coal mine focus on Bermuda as the iris of the five eyes of the USA, UK, Canada, Australia, and New Zealand, and this message of unconditional forgiveness paves the way for us to use love as a weapon, sometimes like the proverbial Trojan horse, because the five eyes are actually at war with themselves. He noted as well that Toronto is the counterintuitive ability to bring this narrative into the forefront because it's where we honor the Iroquois Confederacy. This is the path to absorb the wisdom of St. Francis of Assisi, taking the papal visit to this message and amplifying it from the Indigenous spirit within all of us, moving into the spotlight can be expedited, of course, with another cliche that helps in times of disinformation warfare, where he said, the first to apologize is the bravest, the first to forgive is the strongest, the first to forget is the happiest. So the apology in the reconciliation with unconditional forgiveness becomes currency, derives from this original sin of ignorance toward the innocence that we sacrifice to engage and achieve knowledge of both good and evil. This is not simply a matter of religious dogma from church, but it's also about ethics in life and death consequences for our actions under the hard-won doctrine of freedom of choice. So this Gaia Guitar strategy will be taking center stage in our UnityNet campaign and we'll be helping to streamline our mobilization strategy through that campaign. One other thing I do want to put into the chat is an article by Jenny Carrington, where they note that the only way that the world would someday come together to peace is through shared leadership. This is a quote by spiritual leader and traditional Algonquin chief, William Commanda. We also rejoice so that many young people are taking the lead on this momentous struggle for justice and equality as they stand tall to make their mark on the great transformation our world is experiencing in our evolution. And we are trying to put forward a campaign right now in Ottawa on unceded land on Algonquin, so that we can have these campaigns resonate across all of our networks as well. And so again, in the chat, you'll find some additional information about the peace tree that we are planning to plant in Ottawa, likely next year. But as we move forward, we will let everybody know how this campaign is moving ahead. I also want to remind everyone that we did our 2022 AHIABGA UnityNet globally coordinated Abraham Project tree planting on Sunday, June 5th this year. Here in the Greater Toronto area, we did 2 tree plantings in Mississauga. The first at Meadowood Park with the support of the city of Mississauga. They donated 10 trees for us to plant, 5 different species. The second at the Continental Dance Club with the owner Brian Torner, a world championship trainer, choreographer, 15-time world championship adjudicator and championship ballroom dancer. So we have in the chat information about our globally coordinated Tree of Peace and Reconciliation Showcase Project for Global Cooperation on the World Environment Day, which is Sunday, June 5th. So for the members of UnityNet, these Trees of Peace and Reconciliation and the Indigenous Unity flag raising ceremonies are both represent this unity of humanity, and we consider them to be far more important than our individual lives and machinations of our political leaders who don't get it. So we recognize that God or Mother Nature, or however you call this symbol of higher purpose and eternal existence and love, this love of all things on the planet that loves us all equally. We are beginning already to start preparing for next year's June 5th and World Environment Day tree planting, the flag raising ceremonies here in the city of Markham. We do hope that other UnityNet members will start the preparations as well by having conversations with your own city councilors, your own leaders, elected leaders, as well as other members of the community, as we are here in Markham. We do also work with our counterparts in the US and Africa and India and beyond, such as the EDFU Foundation, Africa Coaches League, Cash Community Development, Global Peace Let's Talk, Indigenous Unity Flag Foundation, and others. We do want to ensure that every tree of peace and reconciliation we plant in the world, we do have a commemorative plaque and flagpole erected beside the trees. We have an Indigenous Unity flag raising ceremony at the time of the planting or after, along with this Pledge of Allegiance from the members of the local INAB collaboratives as a promise that they'll empower the local humanitarian entrepreneurs, what we call our FFHE, who are implementing the local solutions to achieving the global goals locally, that the place where the flag and the tree become a sacred space in our local communities, these symbols of peace, reconciliation, forgiveness, compassion, collaboration, and regeneration. And let the people involved in the planting ceremonies sign on to this commitment to leave no one behind in their local communities, ensuring that they pledge to commit and support us in all of the local communities as we move forward together in support of this process of decolonization and re-indigenization of our minds and our physical spaces in lockstep with all of the Indigenous people of the world. We did our third Tea Diplomacy Initiative event nearly 3 months ago on Saturday, June 18th, Sustainable Gastronomy Day. That was the last of the Tea Diplomacy Initiative events that were scheduled for this year. Our friends at Global Peace Let's Talk and the Global Forum for Sustainable Rural Development are free to do more tea diplomacy initiative events throughout the rest of the year. Again, you will find in the chat additional information about these days, in particular Sustainable Gastronomy Day, June 18th every year, as well as some of the links to our affiliated networks like the Bubble Fund Sports Network and the International Bubble Fund Festival Network, as well as the campaign for Spark for Humanity, Super Jubilee 400 Spark Classrooms Network. So there is also the October Global Climate Smart Youth Forum Week, which is actually coming up in a couple weeks. Takes place from October 4th to 16th, which we're calling Youth Peace Week. There's also the period between August 9th, World Indigenous Day, and August 19th, World Humanitarian Day, where we also want to organize our Bubble Fund festivals into the future, which include the Bubble Fund Sports, the Bubble Fund Dancing, and any other arts, Bubble Fund Arts and Athletics events for families and communities to also be considered as Indigenous Unity Week, actually 11 days in total, encouraging people to raise and wave the Indigenous Unity flags as part of the celebrations that lead up to this Global Cooperation Day, October 4th, where we can do more tree planting of the trees of peace and reconciliation, more flag celebrations during both Youth Peace Week and Indigenous Unity Week, encouraging people in all of our local communities to begin establishing these cooperative community unity garden learning centers, these community hubs, by planting the beginnings of the unity forests as 3D polyculture, permaculture, food forest learning gardens in each of our own local communities. Before that, we did the tea diplomacy events on Saturday, May 21st, International Tea Day, and the World Day for Cultural Diversity for Dialogue and Development, and the very first AHIABGA Global Unity Network inaugural Tea Diplomacy Initiative event took place on Monday, March 21st, which was the International Day for the Elimination of Racial Discrimination, World Poetry Day, and the International Day of Forests. Again, in the chat, you will find information about both the first and the second Tea Diplomacy Initiative events, including as well information about International Tea Day and the World Day for Cultural Diversity for Dialogue and Development, along with the AHIABGA Global Unity Network inaugural Tea Diplomacy Initiative event page that was created for the event on March 21st. In addition to the information about the week for solidarity with people struggling against racism and racial discrimination, and the International Day for the Elimination of Racial Discrimination, is March 21st every year. In addition, you'll find information about World Poetry Day, which is again also on March 21st. The occasion marks or honors poets, revives oral traditions of poetry recitals, promotes reading, writing, teaching of poetry, fosters the convergence between poetry and the other arts such as theater, dance, music, and painting, and raises the visibility of poetry in the media. Again, we have links as well in the chat for the Indigenous Languages Day discussion group of our network, where we have a global languages project done in recognition that Indigenous peoples represent the greater part of the world's cultural diversity and have created and speak the major share of the world's almost 7,000 languages. Also in the chat, related to these events, is the International Day of Forests and the link to FAO, the Food and Agriculture Organization of the United Nations, which declared that as well on March 21st as the International Day of Forests, which also takes place on November 28th, November 28, 2012. It's an old link, but the day celebrates the awareness of the importance of all types of forests each year, and various events celebrate and raise awareness of the importance of all types of forests and trees outside of forests for the benefit of current and future generations. And so we are wanting to do something as well in November that takes place a year. So for the UnityNet overall, what I want to mention as well is this, with regards to what we're doing. It's all about bringing existing local, regional, national, and international organizations together for a common purpose, starting at the local level. So that common purpose is to establish a productive, compassionate, collaborative, regenerative economy that leaves no one behind through the implementation of our AHIABGA UnityNet process of localization of the global goals, in order to start building productive, open source, regenerative, climate smart infrastructure solutions in all of our local communities, built and run by the local community co-ops of the local humanitarian entrepreneurs who are implementing the local regenerative solutions to achieving the global goals for the ultimate purpose of educating and training an entire generation of young people and families in the concepts, systems, infrastructure, management, practices, and ethics of a productive, compassionate, collaborative, regenerative economy that leaves no one behind. I will go to one more page here. It's now all of this can start with the establishment of Unity Peace Gardens as well. So I'd like to encourage all of us to please approach your local elected council members, approach your Chamber of Commerce, approach your local Rotary Club members and leaders, approach your local schools, your universities, your colleges, your school boards, other leaders in each of your own local communities. Have a public conversation with them. Tell them we are going to be planting the first youth peace garden in our local community in a space that is public and accessible for all. Do you want to be part of the ceremonies that we will do in that youth peace garden? We are going to be planting a tree of peace and reconciliation in that youth peace garden. We will be raising an Indigenous unity flag in ceremony in that youth peace garden as well. We will be creating an interfaith neighborhood academic and business collaborative in our local community at that time of those ceremonies. Do you wish to be part of that INAB collaborative in our local community for the rest of the members of our UnityNet team here in our local watershed? Do you wish to support and empower the young people here so they can succeed in their cooperative community humanitarian enterprise and business to globalize the global goals, to help us to tackle food security, climate change, local ecosystem restoration, and the local implementation of the global goals and the sustainable development goals through their local cooperative, collaborative community business activities in our local community? If yes, please show up to our Youth Peace Garden when we are ready to launch it. Make it public, which will probably be during one of the important days of celebration in United Nations calendar. It might be this year or next year, but please stay in contact and we will let you know and send you the updates so you can join us on that day, become part of the global movement to create a globalized, productive, compassionate, collaborative, regenerative economy that leaves no one behind through the practical implementation of global humanitarian entrepreneurship activities in our own local community. So this rounds up the new opening of our Global Unity Network ITU Summit event. As we move forward, we can either have a conversation or we can move forward with the regular presentation, depending on what people would like to see. So it seems that our host, Andrew from Andrew Networks, has already left the call. I see a message in the chat that he indicated that he needs to leave the call. We've been on right now for approximately 1 hour and 45 minutes. I would like to know if others might wish me to continue with the regular presentation, or if we can just have a quick discussion about what I just talked about in these first 3 slides, especially what is seen on the screen right now, as we move forward and try to create what we call these youth peace gardens as a first step toward engaging our communities in this conversation around establishing a, as we call it, localized, compassionate, collaborative, regenerative economy that leaves no one behind. If there is none, no additional comments from our members on the call today, I think it might be a good idea that we wrap up our call for today, and we will continue this next week. These conversations, again, we will have Edmund Madagai on the call for us to give a presentation about the work that he's doing. And so we can have more of these really in-depth conversations about implementation of these solutions. So thank you all for attending the IGU Summit in week 67. It is September 15th, 2022. And this will finish the event for today, this Thursday, for our IGU Summit. I hope everybody has left their information in the chat, and we will get in contact with you if you are not already a member of UnityNet and the Global Unity Network. Thank you all.
Thank you.
Let me see. I don't see how to stop this. Okay, I guess I have to stop share first. There we go. Thank you all for attending the IGU Summit one more time.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.